but most influential things to come out of here, it's hard to overlook the significance of the Indianapolis 500. Like that's a big deal.
Yeah.
As far as like what people think about Indiana outside of here. Oh yeah, West Montgomery, like, yeah, that's a park. I'm like, absolutely. Absolutely. But here's who Wes Montgomery was. They know West Montgomery Park. They don't know that guy was phenomenal. And he's from your city, and he's an IPS kid just like you, if I'm going into IPS schools or whatever. Or I grew up right here in this neighborhood like you did. And every city of a substantial population had their own little Indiana Avenue. I'm talking about whether that's Kokomo, whether that's Anderson, whether that's Evansville, South Bend, Terre Haute. Everywhere had these black districts in their community. And you can look and see, like, do things like the Green Book, and be like, dang, okay, these are these addresses that were here. I'd love to have the Green Book as part of every single Black history curriculum.
Hey, y'all. Welcome back to Midwest League Podcast. I'm Ladina, and I am here with...
Sampson Levingston, Mr. Walk and Talk, lover of Indiana history, baby.
Okay, so it's Indiana, not just Indianapolis.
It's all of Indiana, but we focus right here in the heart of Indiana, and so much of Indianapolis is Indiana, but so much of Indiana is Indianapolis, and I want us to really understand the relationship between our rural communities and our city communities. So yeah, it's all Indiana for sure.
Okay, because I have this theory: Indianapolis influences everything.
Come on,
and so. I guess we could say Indiana because some of the biggest, like we've got Michael Jackson and Janet Jackson if we're going for the whole state.
Right.
But what do you think, like globally or even just around the country, like what's been the most influential thing to come out of Indiana?
Man, I think there's just this perception that, Indianapolis and, well, really, first of all, that Indianapolis and Indiana are the same thing, which they're kind of not, right? But we kind of are. And so sometimes it's tough to separate like the city aspect, the progression aspect of Indianapolis, while also appreciating the pace of life, I'll say, in the rest of Indiana. But most influential things to come out of here, it's hard to overlook the significance of the Indianapolis 500. Like that's a big deal.
Yeah.
As far as like what people think about Indiana outside of here. But even recently, like with just the Pacers and their run, I think sports, and I know we hear this over and over again, but I'm gonna say it, I think that's kind of what we've really, more so than arts, more so than culture, which is here, just as much as sports is. I think the sports and the athletes that come out of Indiana are kind of what's really helped build the brand of the state.
I definitely think the sports makes a huge difference. It's just it can fluctuate,
Yes.
So it's like when it comes to art, music, movies, that kind of thing.
Right.
Like it's not if Janet Jackson put out a song recently, then she's important. But if the Pacers aren't doing good,
right,
then people don't value Indiana how they should,
Exactly. Exactly. It's like they look at the whole state as like the state's doing bad right now.
Yeah.
Like, no, that's just like the team. We're just in the season. But to your point, the arts and the culture and the music, that stuff truly is timeless. And that's why I wish like the jazz on Indiana Avenue got way more recognition than what it does. Even like Madam Walker's accomplishments, like that's timeless. Like that, I think about that all the time. Like when I'm looking at Walker Theater, I'm on Indiana Avenue. Like look at this legacy that this woman left. Like that's forever in the city, And athletes and sports can do that for sure, but you've got to put in longevity. You can't just have one or two good seasons.
Yeah.
And it's just like same with like all of these like, artists and entrepreneurs that I respect. You can't just have like one or two good years or, your one show does good or you have a game winner one game. Like, no, you got to do that over and over and over again. I think that's what a lot of are like creatives like Wes Montgomery and of course Madam Walker and all those jazz legends on Indiana Avenue. They were great consistently. And so I respect that too.
Yeah, and you can't tap out because you had a bad season.
Right,
like,
right.
Oh, it's Indiana's fault. I'm out of here. Like, you have to be resilient enough to keep it going and try again or pivot.
Right. And so I think that's I personally draw a lot of inspiration from the people who did it here in Indiana. Growing up, learn about Black history, you get the same sheets. You get the Booker T. Washington paper. You get the Frederick Douglass paper. You get the George Washington Carver. You get the Harriet Tubman and Rosa Parks. And as I was growing up, I was just like, who the hell did it in Indianapolis? Like, were there, like, the way they'll teach you Black history in school, at least when I was growing up.
You would think we weren't here.
You would think we were never here.
Yeah.
And so you can see why people grow up with almost like a resentment for our history or a lack of understanding for our history. You know, I had a lady come down from Detroit one time on a tour. She's like, I didn't know there was Black people in Indianapolis. You didn't know? All right, well, we also didn't tell you. First of all, there's Black people everywhere. Mm-hmm. Second of all, we're not doing the best job of telling you, you know, that we're here. I think in Indiana, we're almost too humble at a time when it comes to so many different things that we got going on, especially like our Black history and culture and creativity and just legacy that's here. And we're doing a much, you know, better job with that. But I'm always interested in who did it in Indianapolis, because if they did it here, like, hopefully I can, or at least try. I mean, come on.
You know, one thing that I really am interested in too is not only who did it here, but why. Because some of us do it here because we're born here, but what about the people that chose to come here and build their legacy?
Right.
Because Madam Walker wasn't born here.
No, and she like, you know, she realizes how centrally located we are when she makes her move here in 1910. I was just actually listening to an interview with Aaliyah Bundles, her great-great-granddaughter, who's phenomenal, and she mentioned how on her products she put her face on the can, on the tin, and at the time this is a woman putting her face on the, like, look, and I'm a look at me type of guy. Like, if I can put my face or my name, I started this recently. If I'm doing something, I want the logo to have my name on it, you know? So I like that. I like my name. People knowing I did this. Madam Walker took it a whole step further. How about you put my face on it? How about my face is the logo? I'm like, that's tough. You know, and you see manufactured in Indianapolis, Indiana. And she's here because of this growing Black community and our connectivity to the rest of the Midwest and the country. But then you get people like, even in recent history, like Tamika Catchings, who's drafted here to the Indiana Fever and falls in love with the place and like loves Indianapolis. Like, you see her out here in the city investing in local communities and just like the work that she does and the way that she advocates for Indianapolis. So it's people like that I think kids can realize, like, you know, this can be a place for you. I think, you know, I feel like I'm just talking so much, but I feel like, you know, when I said that, I lost my train of thought. But you can do anything in Indiana. I mean, anything, if you're good at it. You know, like, I just want to like reiterate, like, if you're good at it, you can do it in Indiana. A lot of people aren't good. So, and they get frustrated, like, man, like, put me on. Leak always.
Like, you wouldn't have been good anywhere.
You wouldn't have been good nowhere. And if you're not good here, you're not going to be good in that new city.
Everyone has something that's put in them, but they may not have found that thing yet.
And granted, there are a lot more opportunities to act, to dance, to do whatever you want in LA, Chicago, New York City, Miami, for sure. But if you're not already doing it here, you're not going to do it there, buddy. Like, if you're not just already getting to it a little bit. Because here, like, you know, I was just talking with Oreo, you know, the founder of Shreese, about this. You know, people were commenting on his page, why don't we got more? You should let more artists, give more artists opportunities. We give plenty of artist opportunities in Indianapolis. There's hundreds of artists. Are you good? Are you consistent? Do you really care about what you're doing? Then you will have a stage in Indiana. I know that. I don't know how long it may take, but if you're good and you work hard and you know, love Indiana the way that you're supposed to, you'll get opportunities here, and that's what I love.
I wonder how many people say, when I grew up, I want to move to Indiana. Like, a lot of people for their careers, they're like, oh, I want to move to this city, or they have a goal city. And the brand of Indiana is growing, especially with sports. So I wonder maybe if there's people out there that say that.
I don't know, really. I know that in the rural counties and the other 90 and the other, you know, let's say, because you got some that are close to Louisville, some that are close to Cincy, some that are close to Chicago, so they feel like they're close to stuff, you know. But here, like, we're the big city. So I know there's people outside of this, like, central Indiana area that want to come to Indianapolis and see this, like, explosion of culture and creativity and just, like, freedom that's here. I know that to some people who have been in Indianapolis their whole life, they may feel like things are redundant or constricting in what you can do. But for people that are just getting to Indianapolis, whether that's from a big city, a bigger city, because we are a big city. Matter of fact, we are the biggest city. So if they're coming from a city that's perceived as a big city and they come to Indianapolis and they're like, wow, like things are accessible here. Like I'm already in the mix doing things because I care. And there's not like this overarching wall of gatekeepers from stopping you from doing things like there may be in somewhere else. So I think that once people get here, their appreciation for it grows. But being from here is unique, you know, and you have reasons to love Indianapolis and you have reasons to hate Indianapolis when you're from here.
I think it makes people a different kind of resilient being from here.
Yeah.
Like some of the things that we deal with that they may not deal with in other places.
Right.
I know a lot of cities end up having the same issues, but there are some things that are uniquely Indiana.
Yeah.
And you go to another place and it's like, if I dealt with that, I can definitely handle this.
Yeah, and living here too, it's not like you necessarily get to just like off the bat choose, you know, what all you're going to interact with. You can go to another city for a week and every day can look like think about if you were to come to Indianapolis during Butter Weekend. You're going to think this is the blackest, most beautiful city ever.
Yeah.
You know, and then you fly home and you go home thinking, man, Indianapolis is so dope. But when you live here, you know that on Monday, you're right back to what the real city is and interacting with the real community and dealing with the real problems of Indianapolis. So a lot of times we get this perception of cities because we go there to have a great time. You're going down to Miami for this event. You're going out to Denver for this trip. And then you fly home thinking Denver is the greatest place ever. Well, like people there got to deal with Denver every day.
Yeah.
We got to deal with Nap every day. And I think that just like, you know, allows us to be successful in so many different places because we are a small melting pot of the whole world is here in Indianapolis. And so if you can navigate that, I think it can help prepare you to navigate really, you know, anything that could come about, whether that's in a small rural community or, you know, in a large metropolitan one. I was speaking recently in this video that went viral. This older white lady was telling me to like, you know, hurry up, wrap this shit up. You've been talking about black people too long, you know? And I checked her a little bit and you know, the response was pretty good. But like, we've had to navigate that our whole life. You know what I'm saying? Like people are, oh my gosh, I'm like, oh, this is the first time you guys have seen this on film. But most people love when I speak, but sometimes there's pushback. I live in Indiana, you know?
And then it's amazing the amount of fake outrage because it's like, you know, that you've heard other people talk like this behind closed doors.
Right.
But like you said, now it's on film. And so you're like, oh my God.
Yeah, we're like, oh my God, I can't believe this happened to you. I'm like, no. That's what I told the dude when I'm talking on that video. People are like, dude, thanks for taking your time. I'm like, man, I'm fine. Like the more that we don't worry about her, the more we can just keep going with this presentation. Because there is a lot of like, you know, bullshit that may arise, but like we're from here. We know the ebbs and flows of, you know, how people perceive us and also, you know, the ways they want certain stories to be told. Like I was like telling people, you know, I know all about white history. Of course. How could I not? I grew up right here in Indiana. I got to learn. I got to know all this. I'm tested on what the whites did, which is great. I want to know what y'all was doing. I really do. You know, but also, like, when I'm going to tell the story, you're going to know that a black guy is speaking and curating this story or experience or presentation or tour. Yes, we're going to talk about everybody because everybody's in Indiana. I'm very intentional about trying to include everybody in our story. But at the same time, what we're not going to do is act like black people we're not here because that's what I feel like happens too often.
And then sometimes some of the things that are really impactful are getting erased.
Yes.
And so I really appreciate the way you're preserving our history and telling it from our perspective. Like Indiana Avenue, kids would never have a clue what it used to be.
Man. No, I didn't know, you know, until I got older. My parents are from Indianapolis, and so I never learned about Indiana Avenue growing up. And I feel like, you know, there's a lot of people who've been advocating for the Avenue for sure before I even started and even throughout my tenure working along the Avenue. But I do take a sense of pride that I feel like collectively, and I realize I've had an influence on this, of course, more and more kids are growing up learning about Indiana Avenue. And it's almost like the passion, the enthusiasm, the energy I put behind the storytelling for that makes it hard to ignore. Like if you're a teacher in Indiana, if you're a parent in Indiana, you're like, dude, we got to do something with this Indiana. This Indiana Avenue history is important. This guy's over here is hollering, screaming about it. He's made a whole career walking people up and down the avenue. Maybe we should teach people about this. So we get kids on field trips all the time. And it's cool because when I was a kid, I know I would have loved that field trip. Like I would have ate that up. I would have thought that was the coolest thing and didn't exist. And now, I'm 30 years old. I curate this experience for these children here in Indianapolis. And it's not anything that anybody told me to do. Something like I just like feel so compelled and to do. And yeah, I get paid, of course, but like there's something in my soul that tells me I need to be doing this.
You're creating a safe space for people to learn and be curious about people that look like them and rose to greatness.
Yeah.
Where do you find safe spaces for you?
Really, there's been first, I want to say there's a lot of organizations that really help me and support kind of what I'm doing throughout different seasons. So whether that's like working with the Children's Museum or Butler University, those, or even Gang, those institutions that, believe in what I'm doing, they help give me they help give me kind of some reassurance, like, damn, the largest children's museum in the world, they think what I do is so cool that when they're celebrating their 100th anniversary, they want me to be a part of it. And when I would any script or talking points, they want me to say what I would say, and they trust me. Same with Butler University, like the students, the faculty, they trust me. They want me there. They like trust what I'm saying and what I'm doing. And as someone who was like kind of self-taught and all this, that makes me feel real confident. So that when I can when I go into some of these different spaces, like these museums, to learn a little bit more, or even like these historical centers, I know that I'm not just this is not something I kind of just do for fun. This is very legitimate. This is very serious. And so that kind of being in those very serious kind of spaces, those like institutions, being the way I am, that gives me kind of confidence that I'm kind of doing the right thing, if that makes sense. I don't know if that really answered the question. I don't think it did.
Well, not just confidence, but like a safe space to relax into being yourself, or a place where you're healing a lot of people. Who heals the healer, or where does the healer go?
I think, I kind of look for people that it's not necessarily the space. To me, it's always the people. And I think that's why I kind of had a tough time answering that question, is because whether I am working with institutions or whatever, it's never, I love like Midwest Leak. I love working with Ladina, right? If things were to change, I'm not just, tied to Midwest Leak or the Children's Museum or Newfields or wherever. It's like, it's because the people that are there that make that space feel so special for me. And I think that's, even there's a young author, Zola Lamoth, and she is, I hope I said her last name right. She did this fantastic book about Indiana Avenue, and to see somebody take some of this information from a tour and other things and then put it in this book with all these documents, it's like being around people like that make me feel like I'm in this comfortable space to share exactly what I think and what I know, because I know you know it too and value it. A lot of times there's people just nodding their head when you're talking, or and especially no, we love white people, but like sometimes you just don't quite get it, and you want to, and that's why I love you. But at the end of the day, I know you don't quite fully get what I'm saying, and sometimes with black people too, different experience that we have. It's not this same experience all across the board. Yeah. But there are people who dive into this research, like a historian named Kayla Austin. She works a lot in Fountain Square, Southside Coalition Troop. When I'm meeting with her, that feels like just a safe space to get things just off my chest about however I may feel about it. Because I know she feels it too. She does the research. She's in the work. There's actually a white lady named Jordan Ryan, who's a city archivist, city county council archivist, city county archivist, a new position, I think. And as much as she looks at history and knows like the problems that we have, you know, those are safe spaces. Even talking with like Taylor Hall, an artist here in Indianapolis, we were meeting for a little bit on Thursday and just kind of talking about the creative scene and like what it's like navigating these things and trying to have stability while also being a passionate activist and leader. And what does that look like? And how do you rest and to be with those people and just share these ideas and things that you're, you know, experiencing. Sean, you know, Oreo, just talking with him. I feel like those are more of my safe spaces, those people that it's like, I can say exactly what I think to you. And I know you feel it too. And it's just, I don't know, it feels good.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's hard to find that for a lot of people. So the fact that you found that space, that means that your mind gets to get some rest to be even more creative.
Yeah. And say things that like, you know, you've been thinking or you've been, is this weird to you? You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, what did they offer you? Or how did that booking process go for you? Or something like that. And they're like, no, bro, they're weird. Or like, I don't know, like something happened there. And I was like, okay, I was thinking like, I don't, because it's really just me in this thing, like for as far as like on my end of the business. So it's not too much like, you know, talking with co-workers about what's going on. It's just like, I got to think about, you know, do I want to do this? Or how do you think Black History, how is Black History Month going for you? You know, things like that. Because as someone who talks about Black history, I know people really want me to come talk in February. That's great. How do I feel about that? Knowing that I talk about this every month.
Yeah,
right? You can book me in April.
May.
You can what? Come on, like, you can book me in June. You can book me any month, but you gotta do it February. Okay, I want the bread, of course. But how do I feel about that internally? You know, like they only want to hear me talk in February. You can't, it won't fit your schedule in May. You know what I'm saying? So like, but then you talk to an artist who's also like that, you know, hey, anybody bring you in for Black History Month? They don't ever bring you in any other time? And they're like, yep. Well, how do you feel about that? You know, and we can talk about it. Like, as
an entrepreneur, it's like they are your coworkers. Like, so we are each other's coworkers.
Right.
How did you realize that you could make what you were passionate about an actual business?
After the first walking tour, I was trying to make history somewhat sustainable or profitable for me. I had the blog page going. I'm trying to think of all the different ideas I had with people. I try to do like these, it was during COVID I started, so I was like trying to offer like history 101 sessions on Zoom. So if you want to ask questions and just, you know, learn, you could Zoom call. One person did it, like for their kid. I sat with their kid for like 30 minutes.
So cool.
Yeah, he was asking me all types of questions about the Underground Railroad, about were there wild animals out there? Were there Native Americans out there? I'm like, bro, these are great questions, little buddy. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, yes, there was, you know, but it was cool that his parents set that up. We did that, but the tours really hit different. And when I did the first tour, I felt amazing. Like just, wow, that was good. Yeah. And I know it was good. And I know I want to do that again. And I know I'm very good at it. Like, I'm so good at that. I'm not even playing. I'm so good at giving those tours. And I love giving them. And I just feel like I'm just like in my bag when I'm talking with the group. Like, anybody from anywhere in the world, I want to show them Indianapolis. I want to show them Indiana Avenue. And I think it works partly because so many people in Indianapolis don't know Indianapolis. And I'd argue that most people don't know their home city the way that you should, you know, their hometown. And so it's cool giving people tours of here. A lot of times people will tell me, you know, I always take these tours when I go traveling, but I've never done one in Indianapolis. I'm like, let's go there, you know, like I'm happy to be here to offer that to you.
What do you see it evolving into?
I don't know. That's kind of something I've been in my head about the past couple months, especially during the winter. Like, what does this look like over time? You know, as much as like giving the tours, kind of where does this evolve into some type of, you know, media venture, some type of like, you know, educational thing, or I don't quite know yet. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, but at the same time, you know, having clear goals and direction definitely helps. I feel like whenever I know exactly what I want to do, what I'm trying to do, I always do it. I always. I'm never not, you know. But a lot of times I don't know what I want to do, which allows for a lot of freedom and allows me to go here and go there. And people be like, I didn't know you did that. I'm like, well, I didn't, but I wanted to see if I could do it, or like I wanted to just let people know I'm open to that. But I don't know. Maybe I don't know. But I know that there is limitless potential for like who I am and what I want to do. And all I really need to do is just kind of figure that out, you know. But with the walks, I'll say this: I'm figuring out who I am more and more each and every day, you know, by looking at this history, by looking at our people, by studying our city. I learned so much more about myself that it's almost this like selfish endeavor that I'm on.
What's something that blew you away when you were researching?
Man, I'm trying to think about the first, like, I don't know what was Indiana Avenue at first. When I learned about that changed my life. Like, let's be clear about that. And I know I don't want to. I mean, why not just focus on the avenue? But when I saw all those black faces on that mural, and you're on a beautiful mural too on the side of the Stutz building, and there's gonna be some kid that walks by that mural, or some 21-year-old, 22-year-old. They're gonna walk by that mural and be like, "Who are these people?" And they're gonna look them all up. And they're going to be like, wow, here in Indianapolis, I can do that. Why don't I know more about those people? You know, there's so many different questions looking around. What the hell? It's like, even to where your mural is on that's 11th Street, that's running that way. Why is this a one-way? Why is the interstate right on top of me? Why is
And
the
then
parking
that
lot
takes
there?
you somewhere else.
And that takes you somewhere else.
Yeah.
That's kind of what happened when I looked at the mural on Indiana Avenue of all the jazz musicians. I'm like, damn, why haven't I seen this? But there's a one-way going this way, so I wouldn't be able to see this. This has been here since 2012. I've loved history my whole life. Like, I've been here since 95. Why don't I know about this? Where's this building at? The address says 400 some Indiana Avenue. I'm here, there's nothing here. That's odd. You know, so uncovering that history and that story in IUPUI's campus, that just opened my eyes to so many different things about why history is important and why I wanted to know it, why I wanted to see it even more. Because as much as I liked and thought I knew history, I didn't even know about Indiana Avenue. I'm out of college. I took every history elective that I could. So I think that in particular, you know, that definitely changed my life, you know, just learning about Indiana Avenue.
Does it give you any different discernment in your book selection and who you trust to learn history from?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm always interested to hear like what role we played in whatever story they're telling, because I know like black people had something to do with this, you know, whether it was the reason why y'all left the jobs or the reason how this community is able to remain sustainable. And I am listening, you know, to see kind of how things are said or portrayed, that the words exactly being used, like as people are talking and speaking. But yeah, I think there's value in the ways that everybody kind of teach and showcase history. You just got to realize that there's always more to the story. Even when I'm on the tour, like that's why I encourage people to ask me questions. I can only say so much stuff, and I got to kind of get you at the level that you're at. I've had people ask me, hey, you said the Underground Railroad was here. When did they fill that in? I'm like, okay, all right. We don't know too much about this thing. I got option A. How the hell do you not know about the Underground Railroad, you racist old lady? Or I got option B of like, oh, it wasn't actually a physical railroad. I could see why you would think that, though, you know, because we do got underground railroads that are running like subway systems, but that wasn't the case. You know, it's kind of more like underground, like a discreet, like a don't tell nobody type of thing. I'm talking about like 60 years old, you know, and so it's like I got to meet them where they are with
and
their,
bring them up
and bring them up.
Yeah.
Like, hey, let me kind of get you up to speed. You know what I'm saying? I'm glad you're here. Like, I'm not here to kind of grill you or kill you for not knowing none of this history. So I respect the things that people do know about history already, but I know they don't know everything. If I got a group that knows a lot of stuff, you know, and they're asking me, well, how did the Great Migration impact, you know, the industries here? I'm like, okay, we're all right. We're on an advanced group here. Let's dive into it. Let's really talk. Y'all want me to be for real? You know, about like about different things, I'll tell you. But I want to make sure we're ready to have like those conversations. Everybody's learned history at their own pace and their own way, and mainly about their own race, you know, for the most part. So sometimes I'm introducing some black history to people. Sometimes I'm introducing some white history to some black people. You know, here's some cool white people you should know about. Here's some bad ones. Here's some cool black people you should know about. Here's some bad ones. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody's got good and bad parts about their history. I just feel like they don't even really teach ours.
And so people asking you questions, does that sometimes unlock things in you? Like, you know what, I need to look into that.
You know, oh, for sure. I love that. Or when somebody knows something about something that I don't know, I'm like, tell me more, please. You know, like, I don't like when people try to quiz me on the tours. So, like, sometimes maybe somebody grew up on Indiana Avenue, right? You know who used to live right here? I'm like, listen, Mr. Jones, respectfully, we're not going to do the quizzes. You know, like, what year did this? I'm like, look here, look. I don't know what you're trying to do here. This cool. You're running over here on the tour. You can share things that you know, sir. I would love that. Or ma'am, share things that you know, or ask me a question. We're not gonna quiz me on. Do you know a newspaper older than this one? I do, but are you asking for yourself, or what are you trying to do here? And
you have a good way of handling people. Is this from your parents, or where did this strategy come from?
I don't know per se. My dad, he is. You probably know my dad, Deon Levingston. He's with Radio 1 and things he's business, he's numbers. He has a very direct way of communicating with people. I've heard him do it before. My mom is a social worker, and so she's a lot more kind of empathetic to situations and like, you know, so I'll try to kind of use a mix
like
of
50-50.
a mix of both of them. My little sister though, she's tough. She'll talk to you. So sometimes I'm like, when that video that went viral, I sent it to my sister. I'm like, what you think about this? You know, because
she was in the comments before she even responded to you. Going to war, I bet.
No, exactly. Yeah. So she's another like, you know, influence on the kind of like the confidence that I have and when I speak, you know. But also, I think the way I deal with people is it's good because I'm confident in like who I am and what I think and what I'm saying, you know. And even when you hear me say something, it's not the first time I've said it, you know. So like I've already heard you or something like you, and I've already responded this way like so many different times. I'm very comfortable in everything I'm gonna say. Please be sure you're comfortable in everything you're about to say. Yeah, you know, if you want to speak. And make sure you know what you're talking about before you speak to me any type of way. Because I'm not going to speak back unless I'm very sure in what I'm about to tell you. So are you that sure or are you just talking? One time I did this video for Butler. Somebody commented, I said, Butler was founded in 1855 and it allowed women and African Americans. And this was at the time when slavery could have legally been going on in this country. So I said, like, think about that. This dude commented. Think about that. Why? I'm like, did you just comment that or did you think? I want you to think. 1855, they said black people and women could come to school here. You don't think that's cool that your university was that open and progressive in 1855, or you don't think? He's, oh, sorry, I'm like, yeah, okay, before you speak or say something, because I said exactly what I wanted to say.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? The first time. So whenever you want to question it or say this or say that, I'm like, think about what I said. Think about how that sits with you, whatever, before you just say anything back. Because I already know what I would say. I'll say that again. You know, I don't know. It's just, I'm very confident in the things I'm saying. But I do a lot of research and spend a lot of time, you know, like coming to these conclusions.
So if you were to handle the Black History curriculum, who are some Black people from Indiana or that have built in Indiana that you think should be studied?
Well, I'll go with the big three first. We're going to go Madam Walker, Wes Montgomery, and Oscar Robertson. And what this does now this is kind of the first time I'm saying this really, but it is a big three. You know, like you got an entrepreneur, you got a woman, fantastic. You got a millionaire. You got an athlete. We love athletes, right? You got Oscar Robertson. Man, I'm talking about all time. You can't see an NBA game where they don't say like first person to do this, and then you see Oscar down there and his records on there. And you got Wes Montgomery, self-taught, world-class jazz guitarist. Brother taught himself. how to play guitar, and it's the best sounding guitar that's ever been heard. No pick, no nothing. He's just strumming with his thumb. These are people that did it in Indianapolis. And like, if we don't know about those three people, I had to kind of get to, because I know so much stuff. When I go to schools, I gotta leave the school or thinking like, what did they learn today? I want to be very intentional. I want them to know about Madam Walker, Oscar Robertson, Wes Montgomery.
Yeah.
I want them to really know about these people. Because, sometimes I go to schools and how would a kid know? But they're like, oh, yeah, Wes Montgomery, like, yeah, that's a park. I'm like, absolutely. Absolutely. But here's who Wes Montgomery was. They know Wes Montgomery Park. They don't know that guy was phenomenal. And he's from your city, and he's an IPS kid just like you, if I'm going in the IPS schools or whatever. Or I grew up right here in this neighborhood like you did. And so I think that's really important,
I want to see the rabbit hole it takes them down, because the influence that you discover that they had from here and how it has influenced so many people everywhere.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
And and to that point, I would want them to know all about Indiana Avenue.
Mm-hmm.
I think you got to know about that. And every city of a substantial population had their own little Indiana Avenue. I'm talking about whether that's Kokomo, whether that's Anderson, whether that's Evansville, South Bend, Terre Haute. Everywhere had these black districts in their community. And you can look and see, do things like the Green Book and be like, dang, okay, these are these addresses that were here. I'd love to have the Green Book as part of every single Black history curriculum. I'd love to have our pre-1860s, our rural settlements, like up in Atlanta, Indiana, Robertson settlement, that all Black little town that was in Hamilton County. We got the beach settlement in Rush County. There's so many elements of Black history that are hyper-focused to right here. I think it's important to understand all those before we go into King and civil rights, because you won't know why that happened. I say we skip from Civil War to civil rights. They just say, shh, don't tell them what we did to the Black people, because we fucked them over. So I don't know who listens to this, but we fucked them during that time. Mm-hmm. We let them build up their little neighborhoods the hard way, no loans, no nothing. And then we came and we knocked it all down. Mm-hmm. Don't talk about that part, because then they're going to start asking more and more questions. Right. They're going to go down that rabbit hole. Damn, there used to be a whole Black city here? Yeah. Yes. Yikes. That we did that. Absolutely. Every city did this. And so once you learn about what was particular to your city, the creativity, and why the Black people are not there how they used to be, you'll realize all of the wealth and resources that were taken from us and how we were so close. You got to think about how when they start building the highways, we're less than 100 years from legal enslavement, right? They're building highways 1950s, mid-1950s, 56 to 76 really in Indianapolis. In 1865, 1864, 63, some of these people are great-great-grandsons, daughters, great-granddaughters, granddaughters of slaves, former slaves. We were able to get out, get to new cities, start building wealth, prosperity, owning land, all these different things. Everything they said to do.
And they're like,
everything they said that we
you're
couldn't
getting too
do.
close.
You're getting too close.
Yeah.
Boom. And then they drive through our neighborhoods, predominantly Black neighborhoods or areas, and wonder, why isn't this done? Why isn't that done? Look at this. Every time we build something beautiful, somehow, some way, it gets knocked down or taken away. And I think when you see that, because you could look around, honestly, if you look about people who come here from other countries, and they come here and they're like, damn, there are disparities. Mm-hmm. I can see the difference. What's going on with them? No one told you how every time we try to get to it, they've taken it away.
And it's almost like a scare tactic. If you do it again, you see what happened last time.
Yeah, you see what happened last time. We'll figure out a way to take it.
I think in some places, they tell the story and it's things getting burned down or tore up.
Yeah.
But the more hidden story is in the places where it's done through laws and things that are official or seem official. But it's almost the same thing as you coming through and burning it down.
Yeah, no, it is. And it's crazy to look at, seeing the real documents talking about no Black, Negro, mulattoes allowed in this neighborhood. I'm looking at stuff wonder why the city is this way. You didn't allow black people to live there for so long. And then like the moment when you do, it's not like we're going to be overly geeked to go. You know what I'm saying? It's like, damn, you told me for so long I don't have access to these spaces. Now because like the law has changed, I'm about to just start running to them.
Yeah, and I built my own, and I like it.
And
here.
I built my
love
own,
it
and
here.
I like it. You know, and I like it. And so I think that's why it's so important to teach us the strength of what we had and why we had to have it, why we had to be so strong, so we can understand, like, you know, just the importance of knowing who we are, so that we can, like, I don't know, just continue to like honor the people who really had to get it, you know, when there was no other choice.
Yeah. Can you leave us with something that you would love to see people look up? Just like go look this up real quick.
Man. I don't know. This is something I've been talking about recently. Just kind of look into the Supreme Court ruling about Indianapolis and UNIGOV. Oh, how about this? Look up UNIGOV and why it happened, and let me know what you think about that.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for taking the time
Of
to
course.
come in and talk to
thank
us.
you. Thank you. I love being here. This is awesome. So yeah, thank you so much for all the work that you do, you know, curating all this talent and these art and culture scenes. You know, I was thinking about that song. It said "Cover of the League." Gave him something to talk about. When I was sitting down, I was going in my head. I'm like, yeah, I want to league. Give him something to talk about. So that's cool. And I remember that as a kid, growing up through NAP, seeing the, you know, like things have changed, of course, all over. But seeing the physical Midwest League magazines and thinking like, because I wasn't like too much involved in like the culture. I grew up in a mainly white neighborhood, went to Cathedral High School. I had a bunch of black friends for sure. But like when I seen the Midwest League magazine, it kind of was like, okay, there's this other part of Indianapolis I kind of see when I'm with my dad in the radio. But like, oh, it's popping here. You know what I'm saying? And seeing things like that. So it's cool being here. Yeah, like you talk about kids, like I talk about kids, like seeing stuff that I create now and how I was inspired by a kid, you know, that's kind of real. Like growing up here and seeing the physical Midwest Leagues, I'd be like, that's cool, that's us. Like, you know.
Okay, well, I'm going to go cry now.
So I appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
All right, peace.